This is RPMMO Radio,
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
a podcast all about role-playing and MMORPGs.
I like what you got. Good job.
With your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Sid, Jazz, Strafe, and Kishmas.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players. Welcome to RPMMO Radio. This is our 47th episode, Burnout. So I guess eventually I'll, get around to introducing myself. I guess I'm Ashen Phoenix, and with me is now and again are Jazz and what's his other one? Sib. I guess they're here, whatever. I just so tired of all this shit all the time. It's just, there's other podcasts that are better than this one. I mean, it's not bad, but the developers of this thing, they just never give us what we want anymore. It's just the storyline. I mean, when was the last time we had an update? What's it been, like a week? I mean, what kind of update schedule is that? It's just fucking ridiculous. Oh, look. Oh, they're going to talk about how dumb werewolves and vampires are again. It's just so dumb. It's just dumb. Ugh. You know what? Forget it. I'm out. I'm done. Spanky, we're going for a walk. Nah, he knows that's bullshit.
I like how he didn't even blink. He was like,
he looked up at me like, the fuck are you saying? What's that word? Is that another word for food?
What the hell's wrong with you?
So, yes, Asher Phoenix, Jazz, and Sib. Kishmas, unfortunately, he's stuck in the well. We've got Lassie on it right now. There's TV crews, and he is hopefully going to be out within the next 2 hours to 5 weeks. We're not really sure on the timeline. Strafe hopefully will be here later. He had a long drive today, and I think he's passed out. It's the reefer madness has him.
I thought it was the Jum Jum madness. The
Jum
halflings
madness. It might be. I don't know.
The halflings got him. He's friends with those halflings.
Jum Jum's being legalized state after state here in the United States of America, and it is only a matter of time before Jum Jum madness hits your children too. Comes in pie forms. It can be baked into things.
And jellies.
You can
And
smoke
jellies.
it. Yeah, it's awful.
Jellies.
It's ruining society one halfling at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It's awful.
And Strafes. Halflings and Strafes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess we'll get to the rest of
I
this
guess we're going to
stuff.
have to... Maybe next week we could have an intervention. A Jum Jum intervention.
This is a safe place. It's a quiet place. We're all disappointed that you don't share with us, for one. And really, that's what this is about. We're going to need the name of your supplier.
There you go.
It's probably that Wakachodo. No,
Yeah.
that's probably his supplier.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a family business. If there's one thing I've learned from The Sopranos, is that you keep it in the family. Or else.
Mm-hmm.
Or else.
So, special thanks to our Patreon donors. Of course, those at our raid boss level. As always, that guy Laza and the Truth Bob. We also have our newest Patreon donor, Lauren M91 from last week, who also joined the show and followed. You can join us with Patreon at patreon.com/RPMMO Radio. If you want to throw us a couple bucks, help keep the show going, make sure we can do neat things like we've been working with Smiling Sorcerer, which we actually saw some stuff today because he's got his shit together. About time, man. What took you so long? Jeez, I have to cut a whole brand new rig and it takes forever. I've only got one hand because I got cerebral palsy. Yeah, we get it. You're disabled. We understand. I mean, good. How long are you gonna beat that dead horse? I mean, am I right, guys? Am I right? Anybody? Am I right? All right.
Crickets.
Girls? Ladies?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nope.
Wow.
I love the pictures.
Yes, they were
Yes.
very cute. I love you smiling. So with that, you also can, we're here basically at twitch.tv/RPMemoRadio every Saturday at 7 Central Time if you're listening on the podcast. If you're listening live, you can listen to the podcast, Apple Podcast, Android Podcast app, Spotify, Podbean. Throw us a review over at the Apple Podcast thing. Eventually, I'll figure out how the freaking hell to find it, and I'll read it on the air, good or bad, regardless. I tried again, still don't know where they hit it. They changed their whole system up, and I've got no idea what the hell is going on. So that's just me. Yeah, I don't know what to do with that.
We understand you're special, dear. We're patient.
You sound just like my mama. She used to say I was special too. I was your special little helmet head. That's what she used to call me. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Hey,
stop.
Hey, Jazz. hey, Jazz.
What?
You got real pretty ears.
Oh my god.
Reminds me of my dog. I just want to pull on him. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Weirdo.
What? Hey, don't you dare kink shame me. I can rub the ears of anybody I feel like, with permission and consent and a written form filled out in triplicate. So with that, let's go ahead. I actually had our news story real quick because it's a little one. BDO, for those that have played that or are interested in, is apparently coming to the Xbox One, which, having played BDO, that is a perfect freaking console MMO.
And what is BDO?
It's BDO. It's that thing where you have black desert body odor. Yeah, body desert. Was it? Let's see. Body desert online.
Body desert.
Body desert. Yeah, body desert odor.
They do have nice
BDO.
bodies.
They do have very nice bodies.
Really nice bodies.
Man, the glutes on those male characters, the females, is just, I will say, you could bounce a quarter off of that.
Don't do that again. That just sounded wrong.
Yeah. Oh, my. Oh.
That's what I say when I look at my character. You can't say that. It's just, no.
Would you prefer?
Do I need to...
Damn!
Bell of shame. Bell of shame.
So, yeah, BDO is coming to Xbox One. Probably click on the article, find out when that's happening. I don't know if they actually gave a release date. And, you can listen to the video of it, too, apparently, while I stream it out. Yeah, it's a video. So there's no reason to me to link that. Anyway, it's coming to Xbox One. I'm not sure how you'd be able to roleplay in that without a keyboard, obviously, but you should be able to. BDO is actually a pretty good world.
Right?
Pretty much. And it is a really neat world, and it's not a bad game. It's just got shitty game mechanics if you're not into Asian-style MMOs and grinding and praying to RNGesus in the way that no living person plays to a deity currently. It's ridiculous how bad their progression for weapons and armor are in that game. It's brutal. The
one thing I didn't care for in BDO was the fact that...
What's it stand for?
Black Desert Online. The way you RP, like if you go into a building or a room, you can hear the people RPing. You just can't find them.
Yeah, because it
was awful.
Yeah, it's kind of like, because it's instance, but not in a way that you're used to it being instance, like EQ or ESO. I think even World of Warcraft or any place that has ever had it, you basically instance into your own zone. Well, this one, it's a seamless go into the world, so like it doesn't instance you into it in that way. It instances you into that own room while still being out in the world. So, like, if the door's open, you can see all the people that are in there, like, before it does. And when you enter in, you'll instance into yours. But the chat is still part of the world. I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but...
No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think they probably did it because they were trying to, like, make
Right.
may not happen. And I'm pretty sure it's probably still
Well,
happening.
yeah, it still goes
out in the open, like they don't even care.
Well, I have a feeling that roleplay was the last thing on their mind
Yeah.
whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, even though they made it's really not a bad housing system. It's not the greatest, but it's not bad.
I just remember that first time
Yeah.
I went to a town and I actually saw people or heard people role playing, and I ran around this building and I'm like, where the hell are they?
Yeah.
I ran around it like 5 times, and finally Ashton was like, they're inside one of the rooms you can't get into.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh,
they're in there.
That's
that?
annoying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
He's
or
like, well, that's no fun.
The other problem that came up with that was the popular areas. You would have, like a really nice house, because all the houses were slightly different. They got bigger, and they didn't cost money. They used there's a point system where I forget what they call it, but it's like a skill point thing, and you use your skill point to basically purchase the house. So it makes the housing affordable for everyone, really, because you just have to level up through the game. But the problem, if you were in a really, like a really nice laid out houses, if multiple role players were in that same thing and had multiple role play events at the same time, you could see like half the people of this one event and the other half of the people in the other event. While you're in 2 separate rooms of the same house, basically, your chat was overlapping each other, and you're seeing the chat from people that weren't in your RP
That would
group.
be super confusing.
Oh
It was
yeah.
rough. It was very rough.
Yeah, and I don't know how much that might still happen. I'm not sure. I don't know that their server population is as healthy as it was back then. Although with the Xbox coming out, that will probably help quite a bit. But I don't know if they're all going to be on the. I didn't see if it was a shared server thing or not. Like if Xbox and PC people will be playing together or not.
It seems like it'd be really hard to do.
Well, I mean, the controllers and like that game is made. You could easily, given that you only have so many skills that you can use at one time, kind of like ESO. There's just so many skills, so it would work really well on a controller. And in some ways, it might work even a little bit better on a controller than it might on a mouse and keyboard. I mean, I wouldn't think so, but there are games that are like I play The Witcher 3 even on PC, and I prefer to use a controller over a mouse and keyboard because it runs better when you can use the analog stick as opposed to arrow keys. So I don't know, but yeah. So for anybody out there, if you've looked for BDO but you just haven't kind of really gotten into it or whatever, it's coming out on Xbox, so you might be able to give it a look. I doubt it'll cost all that much given that it's been out for so long. So there's that. Isn't that neat? So
Oh yeah.
there's really not enough console MMOs. There's really there's ESO, and then there's, what is it, the other one, the D&D one. I forget what it's called now.
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. Well, I just said D&D one, but I forget they have it. It's Neverwinter Nights. That's it. Neverwinter Nights. I said D&D. God, so rude. Obviously, it stands for Dungeons and Dragons. What?
Nothing.
Hmm?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it's good to see some more MMOs get out there on consoles, because not everybody has a PC powerful enough to play them. So, maybe when they do, they'll actually try it out on a superior gaming platform. Just saying. PC Master Race. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You need a tissue?
Probably. Got a little allergy thing going on tonight.
I can give you some tissue.
I just blow my nose in this microphone. We are also, of course, a call-in show, which I forgot to mention earlier. And I want to thank our call screener, Rahanar, who's sitting right now in the caller waiting room. If you're not part of our Discord, you can go to rpmmoradio.com/Discord and join our Discord server. Throw yourself in the caller waiting room. He'll make sure that all your shit is plugged in and you're able to be heard. He will only be hearing you out of one side of his head, though, because his headphones falling apart. Actually, a lot like Sibs. Sibs is also on the outs. The outs. But he'll make sure everything's good. Let us know what you want, and we'll bring you on the show live, and we'll discuss what you want to talk about, main topic, or if you've got something else you just want to bring up or say. So with that, What have we been doing in roleplay? This is going to take a long time, being that there's all three of us. So, Jazz, why don't you go first?
Let's do rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
No, you can't do rock, paper, scissors with three people. That's ridiculous. Don't be stupid.
No, let's do it.
All right, Jazz, you're paper.
Okay.
Sib and I will be scissors.
All right, ready? Go. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, I'm
Jazz.
definitely scissors. Yeah, yep.
Oh,
That's
sorry, Jazz.
yeah.
I tried to help.
Damn that random luck.
That's funny. Okay. Well, this week was really hectic for work. So I was doing a lot of that, and I rescued a baby bunny. So I've been kind of busy dealing with the baby bunny. Other than that, let's see. I didn't do anything on Sunday. I did try to role play a little bit. Monday, I role played a little bit. I went to Ordinator. Did I go to Ordinator training?
I think
I went to Ordinator.
I think
Yeah, I
you
was
guys
there.
were there and I wasn't.
Yeah, we sparred.
Yeah, we sparred. That was it. That was a lot of fun, by the way. That was well done. I was dubious, and it was well done. I'm so cynical these days. I don't think it's going to work, and it always does, which is nice because I've been pleasantly surprised most of the time by the people in ESO.
Yeah, they're really not a bad community overall.
No, it really
They're
isn't.
one of the better
Overall,
ones.
they've
We've been in
impressed me
quite a
overall.
few.
Yeah, and I think overall they've truly impressed me. So that was Monday. Tuesday was Poetry Night, which got canceled because Strafe had to be elsewhere. We did have some light RP, but nothing structured.
His cocaine deal went down. Yeah,
Yeah.
It was the
had to
jum
deal
jum
with some
deal.
stuff. Jum.
Jum-jum.
Whatever. You call it jum. I call it crack cocaine. Whatever. He's gonna love me when he hears this episode.
He is. He's gonna absolutely love it.
Thank
That
God
is
he doesn't
so-
listen to it.
Oh, he does.
He's not wrong. I don't think he does. So Wednesday was my lizard with my husband.
Weezer.
And we did that. That was fun. Thursday was Guild RP. It was very lighthearted, but it was fun. Friday was Telvani RP and was very, very busy. We had a lot of stuff happen and a lot of stuff that we're doing. I'm really pleased to see at least that corner of the role play really kind of blossoming and doing really well. So that's kind of my week. I really didn't get a chance to do much on Zasher other than the Ordinator training. I primarily roleplay with Strafe, and he wasn't around in game, and everybody was busy that I normally would hook up with. So I was pretty much kind of wandering aimlessly, but I did get the large portion of the Sijic line. I'm like 3/4 of the way through it now. So I'm making headway. I'll be done with it soon, and then I'll go back to fishing. Whee!
Fishing.
Never met anybody that's so excited to virtual fish as you are in this one. Other games we've had it, you've just never really gotten into
I did
it.
actually. I enjoyed gathering in EQ2, and that included fishing.
The fishing.
I actually, dude. Goodbye.
Right.
I don't want to see your meme
Fun.
right now.
Sun aggro.
Dude!
Did you notice the boots in front of the door?
Yes.
Get out.
Just tell him everybody's listening to him right now live.
And he's going to be like,
Probably
"Oop."
some of them might even be cute girls. Just saying.
Anyway.
Deep breath. In the mouth.
I even put boots in front of the door so it'd be hard to open, and he just pushed his way through and walked in to show me a meme,
It's important.
apparently.
Was it at least a good one?
I don't know. I didn't look at it. I was like, dude, do
Oh,
you
man.
see me? I am busy.
You know what we need to get you? We need to get you one of those on-air, like, lights above your door that you could turn off and on.
I do, but I have like 3 doors. But yes, that might work, but then that would mean that they'd have to actually pay attention.
That's true, and know how to read.
Right. And
Yeah.
teenagers really just don't.
Yeah, and they go to public school, so, I mean, there is a 50-50 chance that they even know how to do that.
That's true.
It's like
That is
me.
very
I never
true.
learned. I have no idea how to read. I just learned how to type, and I guess really, really well. I mean, like, really well. It's insane how well I guess words.
Mm-hmm.
Like your name, Jazzy P.
Mhm.
Or as Smiling calls you Miss B, which cracks me
Miss
up.
Miss B.
Miss B.
I have a couple people call me Jazz the Bee,
Jazz the
So-
B.
which isn't wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, you do have a mighty sting.
I always thinking like Jazz the bee, like Bumblebee, not the bad bee.
That was the same thing I was going for. You just took it to an ugly place. I think she called you a bitch, Jazz. What do you have to say?
I love you, Sibby, so much.
Oh, I'm blushing.
When we
I'm
say that
blushing.
she's the sweet one, it's not really a radio show joke. It's just kind of who she is. And that's just how it has to be.
Oh, jeez.
So was that all you had before you got interrupted by that clomping bag of
Clomping
hormones
noise,
you call
yes.
son?
Yes.
Okay.
Thankfully.
Sib, what do you got?
Let's see. I know I was able to RP some last Saturday after the show. I think I went in and RP'd on my little clergy. She's
Oh, I
new.
remember that. Yeah, we did
Yeah.
do that on Saturday.
Yeah, I RP'd with.
I always forget to include Saturday.
Sunday?
Yeah. No, Saturday.
Oh,
after the
Saturday
show.
night and Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always forget
Yeah.
about Sunday myself.
And I did RP Sunday because I went to, you had an event and I went to that. And so.
Oh, yeah, I did. Did I go to that?
Did
Yeah,
you?
it was an Ashen event, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was an
Yeah,
action
so I
event.
went.
Yeah, the
That was a
gar-
lot of
yeah.
fun.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. But I love your events and always have, so.
Dog, go on.
Then I went to training on Monday. And then the rest of my week was kind of just shot. I mean, I didn't really get to do much because of baseball. I've got 2 more weeks and then we'll be done for like
Two
a
more
month and-
weeks.
I
2
know.
more weeks.
And then actually that last week is the week of the 4th of July and we have vacation. So I'm like,
Yeah,
woo,
when is that?
can't wait. But I know Monday night we did sparring, which I had a lot of fun with. One of the new people in the Servants of the Tribunal. I got to spar with them and she was asking lots of questions, which is good. And she asked them in tells, because, she wasn't for sure how everything works. And it is a huge change from just everyday RP because there's a lot of different things they do in that guild to make events run smoother. So, and it's always good to ask questions, but I had a lot of fun and she seems like a really nice person and I enjoyed RPing with her. So, and I did make it Thursday night to the sermon. That was the other thing. And I got to RP with her there, or she was asking questions there too, which I really like. And I think her name is Daedrin.
Her, yeah, the new, she's kind of new.
Yeah, she's
I'm
recruit.
horrible at
Yeah.
pronouncing names, but I tried to RP that night with my in-game love interest on Ninth. I kid you not, every time I would get free, something would come up and I'd be like, okay, gotta, go take care of this.
Oh, that was right. Saturday was the day that Zosh got in trouble again.
well,
that's right.
this was Thursday night.
Right.
And I tried to get away. I tried and ended up getting pulled into RP. And then next thing I know, both kids are like banging on the door, like, Mom, we need something. And I'm like, okay, fine. I finally told Tervis, I gotta go. I'm sorry. But I hopefully will get to RP sooner or later. I know he's super busy and we'll just figure it out. But that's mine.
Just
That's
get
my-
it done.
And I have to say, Rajir is just such an amazing, Kishmas is such an amazing person and easy to roleplay with. I have to say that I really enjoy roleplaying with him too.
As
Mhm.
long as you're not a dumbass. and
Well,
you
yeah.
don't have drama.
That's
you'll
really
be all right.
the key.
That's really
yeah.
his only criteria is just don't
Yeah.
cause OOC drama. Yeah. No, he's amazing. He plays his character very, very well and very consistently. You
Mhm.
know, and consistency is something not everybody can do, especially when you have to kind of play a hard ass. And still remain like fair,
Yeah.
Mhm.
it's not always easy. Like they said, I had to skip ordination training because real life stuff had me so frustrated and flustered. I did not want to log in. It's just, we had car problems with stuff. It was just
Yes,
fucking,
I forgot about that.
we ended up selling it, after we just put $500 into it to have something replaced. And we sold it for scrap for about 200 because it was all it was worth by the time everything started falling apart all at once.
Oh, that bites.
Yeah, transmission, motor. I'm pretty sure the main computer brain was all going out. So no, we were thrilled. But our daughter stepped up. She's got a brand new little what is it? A Dodge Dart.
Yeah, Dodge Dart.
So she's gonna be paying for that all on her own. So I'm very proud of her. So
That's
thank God,
awesome.
because I don't have to worry about her calling me out of the blue. I can't get my car to start.
It's a super cute little car too.
It is
It's
very cute.
very
The
cute.
Dodge Darts are really cute.
Yeah,
they
it's
really
baby
are.
blue. It
Yeah.
fits her very well. So anyway, that has nothing to do with. That's why I wasn't there on Monday. I was so fucking frazzled. It was one of those times where it's like, if
It
I
was
log
one of those
in,
days where we're just like, screw it.
yeah, because if I log in and some stupid drama or something happened, I didn't have the patience to put up with it, and I would have been just shitty. I know myself well enough to know, like, if something goes wrong, the claws are coming out. I'm gonna come at you like a scratching hurricane of teeth and nails. And I'm gonna claw at your eyes, that kind of thing. And so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna go play some Zelda. Gonna watch some. I think I watched Thor Ragnarok actually again.
There you go.
Yeah, I needed something funny, and that's a damn good movie. So I did have, was it Tuesday? I did have another part to the Menace thing. It was the Phantom Menace. It turned out they started it. Tarvala, of course, let them know that they thought there was some Ashlanders messing with, with some villagers, some farmers and stuff in a
I went to
nearby
that too.
town.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
And they got there, and all the people, the villagers, even the women and the children, they were all dressed up in a fashion, unfortunately, that happens in real world, and that's what inspired me for it, where you're basically hog-tied in such a way that your back is bowed and your legs are bent up towards pointed at your head. And they tie the rope around the ankles, and then they tie the other end of the rope around your neck. So as it's excruciatingly painful. So as your ligaments and your muscles start to tire and tear, you start to slowly strangle yourself to death. And basically, that's exactly what happened to all these villagers. They all, through their own body weight, strangled themselves to death. And an Ashlander stepped out from around the building and, actually surrendered their weapon and stuff. And they were trying to convince them that the Ashlanders had nothing to do with it. The tribe was actually peaceful, had very few warriors, and that they, of course, nobody was believing this, naturally, because ordinators would not believe in Ashlander, which was exactly why I did that. And just as they were starting to actually come around, a giant black claw popped out through the back of her chest, a la like a chest-bursting alien, and lifted her straight into the air. And one of the menaces apparently have learned to go predator, and tore her apart, and something spoke out of its mouth, more like a microphone, more than it was actually speaking. They proceeded to, fight, and it was a pretty good brawl overall. And of course, it ends up that they ended up killing it, which is going to lead into something else now, because they actually managed to capture they've been calling it the black goo, which just sounds awful. But it's basically, I thought of it in a different context, but it really is more like the venom symbiote that surrounds a human being. But in this case, it surrounds those gargoyles, and they actually managed to capture, freeze it a little bit. I think Sib, that was your character that managed to do that.
Yeah,
and,
we were able to freeze, not actually freeze it, but it slowed it, and then the High Commander was able to get it in her water skin and put a little ward on it.
Yeah. But yeah, and so they managed to capture that, and so that will lead into something else that happens, because they took it deep underground of the place in the vaults, and something was going to happen later on this week for the next event, and that will be fun. The other one that we did, somebody else did it. Was it last night?
Yeah, they had an event last night.
Yeah, it was Friday. I forget. I have. It's so goddamn hot here. I'm literally forgetting what day it is. We have to nap after work almost every friggin' day. It's ridiculous. But it went real well. It was we tromped through. There was Argonians, of course, always the bloody Argonians. Human Floyd, I'm looking at you. But so we were, whole group of ordinators were tromping through the muggy, just bitter, hot, humid, friggin' swamplands south of Morrowind and on the border. They were being like eaten up by bugs. It was miserable. It was awful. They managed to actually see one, and Tarvala she tried to use her earth magic to capture it, but you know, swamplands didn't exactly grab hold with an iron like vice grip. They ended up having to follow that one for quite some time, trying to keep quiet and slogging through it, just getting chewed up, leeches getting inside their armor. It was pretty gross. They eventually came to a camp of them. And they knew they were going to get ambushed, but because they did detect life, which I think it's not something in the game, but it is in the original Morrowind, and I think that's where everybody gets that one from. Detect life, detect magicka, detect undead. I think is another one. So they use a lot of the spells from that, which makes sense. I mean, it's technically it's lore, even if it's not in ESO, because really, I mean, in ESO, you really need it. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, hey, look, I see an undead guy. He's right there. I'm going to go kill him. So they had charged in. Tarval told people to take out the 3 archers in the trees, and she charged in for one of the big brutes. I forget. Jazz, you probably know what they're. It was some weird Argonian name, but they were the two big bulker guys, the big ones. I rolled terribly. It was just awful. It was like the first 3 hits.
Can we just say we hate the dice?
Oh man, it was so bad.
They're horrible. They're horrible.
But so she was swinging at him, and he was dodging and swinging back. She took a axe to the thigh, which her armor stopped most of it. She took a hit to the head. She ended up getting tail swept, and that's when I finally managed to roll, because she grabbed at his tail and put her foot on his ass, or feet on his ass, and just, she's 6'2", 180 pounds of muscle, and just pulled, and managed to dislocate his tail, which was kind of disorienting
Painful.
for him. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And that's when, the battle was already turning at that point. She managed to actually run him through with the great sword. So that was what she was occupied with the entire time, while everyone else took out all the other guys. But, they found what they were looking for. I have a feeling it's something that will run more, because was like wasps. It's like a wasp group, I guess. That they were painting like a wasp symbol on the stuff that they were stealing, kind of like renegades and stuff would do to sign their dirty work, that kind of thing. But
they're taggers.
Yeah, bunch of street artists. Really, they're just street artists, Argonian street artists. So that was the 2 big things I did, and it was a lot of fun. I actually had a pretty good time. It was I think it was Malel who was running it. It was the first time that I've seen. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the first time I've seen him run something big like that. So it was pretty cool. I had a good time. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed both things, and I look forward to seeing kind of what comes out next week. Should be a good time all around. So with that, I'm gonna take a drink. You can wait. Hold on.
That's awful.
Jeez.
What? Wait, you guys could hear that? Wow. Do I sip too loud?
Yeah, just a bit.
You're a loud
Holy
sipper.
shit. Wow, all these years. You're 39 years old. You think I'd have found that out by now. Huh. Weird. Things you learn. So, all right. With that, let us go ahead and go to our sponsor of this episode of RPMMO Radio. And we'll do that. How's that sound? That sound good? Awesome. Do you feel tired? Does that workday drag on? Do you come home with plans of cleaning, working out, making a well-balanced meal only to pass out on the couch in front of your fourth viewing of The Office on Netflix? Or even video games, just too much to shake that bouncing booty of yours? Then do we have the product for you? Introducing Hypervolt Super Jolt Extreme! That's extreme with the first E missing. Our breakthrough product is made in the most legal of places, in our Colombian labs. It's also close to its all-natural, super-rich source of energy that we cram into every 24-ounce can. Geared to keep you from blinking and your mind racing. Every can comes with 4 grams of concentrated caffeine. But wait, there's more. We add a special dose of our all-natural plant byproduct so that it has 100% organic, and best of all, it's gluten-free. We add the entire gram of pure cocaine into every can. That's right, pure cocaine. Nothing gets your heart racing to the point of bursting like HVSJ Extreme. Your heart will beat so fast it will kill an elephant, and we have the corpses to prove it. Look for it sneaking over your local border in back alleys soon. Hypervolt Super Jolt Extreme is not responsible for arrests, blindness, heart attack, stroke, or seeing into the future. Discontinue use if blood appears in urine. I'm drinking it right now. It's delicious! Oh my god! Call 911!
I think I'll pass. I'm passing.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass too.
Oh, you don't know what you're missing. It's smooth. You can also snort it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Not recommended. Not recommended.
I love snorting my energy drinks. Makes me feel like a
you
god. All right, so Burnout. Let's be honest. If you've played anything ever or role played, you've been burnt out. I mean, right? Everybody here, Burnout once or twice. We're all good.
Yeah.
Yep, been burnt out. Awesome. Basically, it happens when you've, been playing, overplayed, or, you just frankly stop giving a shit. It typically manifests itself in a few ways. Anything from, once it creeps up on you too. So you start kind of being shitty to people. You bitch about the game constantly. And last but not least, and likely the best for everyone, you just don't show up anymore. Which is probably actually the best outcome,
And the most rarely taken.
It really is, yes.
Yeah.
And I say that also with my own self. I should have done that myself and did not. So.
Yeah, there's been a few times, but yeah, it's something that happens to every role player. It happens to every gamer. You can get in a funk, between things in real life. It's just, we've got all sorts of causes here. And we'll get to those in a second, but first, real quick, let's go to our call lines, where we have a real-life person, according to Rohanar, called TK Dean. How's it going, TK?
Hey,
Thanks
how's
for calling the
things?
show.
How are you doing?
Doing all
Hi,
right.
TK.
Hey,
Hi.
hey, nice to be here. Thanks for
It's Fonzie. Anyway. Okay.
Hey, but seriously, on a serious note, I've been trying to call into this show for the past 5 or 6 months.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And I've just fallen asleep every time, every single time. What
what's
you were describing, Ashen, was the stuff that I was taking today.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you managed to finally find it in your local back alley.
Yeah, well, it's not the best place to go for it, but I wouldn't recommend it. But yeah, I'm here now.
Hypervolt Super Jolt Extreme. That's right. We got a user on the line right now. Oh, I'm sorry, addict. I meant addict.
Yeah, I just got the shakes from it.
You got any more of that Super Jolt Extreme? No, I'm glad you were able to finally call in. I've listened to the show too. I understand you falling asleep. And it's completely understandable. Especially when Jazz and Sib are talking. I'm just Oh my gosh, what a snooze fest. Oh, hey, they can hear me. Crap. I'll regret that
yeah,
one.
we can
That's sometimes
totally
a problem.
hear you.
So what have you got, TK? Appreciate you calling in. What's up?
Just on Burnout, I was wondering, how often do you usually get burnt out? Because I'm new to this. I'm new to the whole roleplay thing, and I've got like one tune that I play, called Talus, and he's like a high elf, but I don't really get burnt out from him yet.
Well, from experience for me, it really does take playing a lot, and it depends on your experience. I know people that have never burned out, and I think that if you are healthy about it, you won't. The problem is many of us that are role players have a bit of a obsessive kind of personality, and so it's easy to just RP constantly until you run into so much.
itch, Jess.
Yeah. And it also depends how much drama you run into.
That's a big one.
Whether or not you ERP, which in my opinion creates more of it. It isn't always the cause, but I think a lot of times it makes it worse. So,
well, and it
just kind of depends.
Yeah, and it will happen eventually. I mean, in any game, it happens eventually. Just out of the sheer nature of
you just get sick of it.
Video
yeah,
game. You just you play the game so long. I mean, we played EQ2 for 10 years, but even that, I mean, that's a long time. Trust me, that's an outlier. Most people don't get that long out of an MMO. But eventually the dev team starts, slacking off. The content updates come farther and farther apart. And it's not any one thing, the community starts to shrink, and the people that you used to love role-playing with, maybe they've burnt out and moved on or something like that. Or the next big WoW killer is out. Yeah.
But it just really comes down to who you're playing with, what kind of roleplay you're participating in, and how the game goes, because some people burn out slower than others.
Yeah.
And then when you do burn out, what do you do to kind of get back into the swing of things after you have burnt out? Do you go to a different game, or do you role play on like different servers or different games altogether?
I took a break from all roleplay for about 4 or 5 months, and then I switched games. And I went to another game for a while, and I just leveled and had light RP on the side. And I got my groove back, but
Sounds
for
like
some
a movie
people,
title.
It was.
Yes, it
How
was a
Jazz
movie
got her
title. But it takes a while.
Yeah, and it depends on why you burnt out. A lot of times, sometimes honestly, it might just be that the character you made is like things haven't gone the way you had hoped, or they're not as exciting, or and it happens to some people. They write themselves into a box. I never really had that problem myself, just because it's my character, so I'll open the box. But so sometimes creating an alt, I know there's times like in ESO right now, I still play it, but I'm kind of in a funk. So I've been playing, and for me, it's because I'm not just an MMO player. I like Zelda. I've been playing, still playing Breath of the Wild. And I'll go on to like God of War. I like single player games and things like that plenty too, and RPGs. So I'll go off and play those for just a little bit, and eventually
I only play MMOs.
Yeah,
so.
and Jazz, she doesn't play anything else but like the MMO she's playing. So I've got those to run off to, and then it'll eventually to keep going with the addiction thing, the itch comes back, and I'm like, I'd rather play this over playing that, and then I'm back in, excuse me, got the hiccups, back in full swing.
I came back to EQ 3 times.
Yeah.
So
if the MMO itself is the reason you're having to leave, that one can be a little harder, because if you don't really enjoy playing the game, a lot of times it's hard to wait around, for the roleplay to start, just sitting there twiddling your thumbs and hoping something happens.
Enjoying the game is a huge part for me, because if there's no role playing going on, then I can always just go do something in the game. And coming from a newer RPer, because I've not been RPing as long as these two have, I know it's funny to think about burnout, but I actually experienced it when we were in EQ2. And I'd only been in EQ2 for, oh God, probably a year and a half. And I was just like, I'm done. I don't want to play. I stopped playing games for, I like jazz a couple months. And
Yeah.
I actually went to play console. I played BioShock. And then after I got through that, I came back. But it's,
It creeps
you
up.
really
It can
have to-
happen out of nowhere.
yeah. And it was just because I felt like, I think I remember my storyline just was,
It
I
petered
couldn't-
out.
yeah, I couldn't get a good storyline going. And so it was kind of like, I felt kind of just lost. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. But right now I've not had any problems with it.
I find that too. Sometimes you can exhaust a storyline of a character. I found that sometimes, especially because I've been playing D&D for a good long time. In D&D, you can exhaust a storyline to the end of the earth, and would be my definition of burnout.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
yes, like basically like what they do with those CW DC shows, where they start out really good because they know what they're doing, and then it keeps getting more and more popular. So they're just like, shit, let's make stuff up and keep dragging this out, and then it slowly gets to the point you're like, you guys are you're out of ideas, aren't you? And you've basically run the character straight into the ground, and what used to be fun and exciting is now like, it's, the flavor of the week. It's the same old thing. You're basically retreading old stories, trying to relive those glory days, but it's glory days because it only comes once,
Big Bang Theory syndrome, I suppose.
There's another good one. It was really good for a good long time, and now I hear it's not so much. Although I never really got into that show for some reason. I don't know. Didn't.
Yeah, they exhausted everything. They're even trying for a Sheldon show, a young Sheldon, but
Yeah.
that's actually not too bad. I
No.
watched a bit of it.
Yeah, anybody that watches it regularly, I know who to delete off my Facebook page. That's how I go off of that.
Oh,
What?
he doesn't mean that.
No, I don't mean that.
Not at all.
Not one bit. But yeah, that's like I said, it comes around eventually. Hopefully, and hopefully it doesn't. But maybe you won't have the ins and outs and stuff like that. But sooner or later, you're going to be like, it's a lot of times what ends up doing it is the bigger, shinier game on the horizon comes out. And now, given this isn't something we've had to worry about in 2 or 3
long
years.
time. Yeah.
Because all the games that keep coming out are shit garbage. Just dumpster fires from the start. Bless Online, I'm looking at you. Who is giving refunds of their game.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a dumpster fire. But there are some promising pantheons on the horizon. Ashes of Creation, supposedly Star Citizen, sometime in the next 40 years. Which, by the way, good on those people that bought, what was it, the $20,000 ship pack that they had of 119 ships.
Damn.
I know people, I'm sure, shelling that out left and right.
Are you serious?
Nah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. It's not even released yet. It's still an alpha. I'm sorry. Thank you, Rohanar. 27,000. I stupidly underestimated it.
Wow.
That's just mind-boggling.
The game itself looks awesome if it ever comes out, but and that's, you just gotta wait. It's just depends on the MMO market. But if they never try anything new, I don't know. It's not in the best shape right now, so you probably don't have to worry about that for some time.
You guys were talking about statuettes for 27,000. You want to be getting a statuette the size of a house.
Oh no! This is actually
No.
This is in-game ships, because Star Citizen's basically like a living, breathing, like spaceship game. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
Nope.
Yeah, it's not out yet. Some people know about it, some people don't. It's not a big deal, but
I've heard about it. But
yeah, you fly around, and it's basically think Star Wars and Star Trek and all that stuff, like in a virtual space.
Like if Eve and Tor had a baby.
Yeah. So
nice.
it's a generated world. It's like really cool concept. You can actually travel and walk around inside your ships, and they have ships anything from the size of like a starfighter to the Millennium Falcon to fucking battle cruisers. But all this stuff is actual costs. The ships are actually paid for real money. So this $27,000 you get, you don't even get a physical item. It's literally all digital. You get some ships in a game for that much. Yeah. It's
That's just
It's just
That
so
doesn't sound
crazy.
right.
makes me so
I just
nervous
can't
because
even-
what if
what if the game
make
doesn't
it?
come out, right? Yeah.
It's like
What if it
what's on?
folds? It's not out
It just
yet.
sounds sketchy.
Yeah. Well, I
No.
mean, it's got some really cool stuff. You can do the alpha stuff of it here and there if you've contributed. I've given them like I think $30 because the premise is awesome. Like it's a really ambitious game, and I really really hope it gets off the ground. I've really needed to add that off the ground there. But yeah, oof, that's a lot. I don't know if anybody else. I don't have
No.
$27,000 for laying around to throw at a video game.
No.
I've never in my
No.
life 27,000.
Right. All at your
Yeah.
yeah. If I have 5 digits in my bank account, including the cents, I consider that a good day.
That's a win.
That's
win.
right. That's a win.
Yeah.
You know.
You owe me a Coke. I don't know who you are, but you owe me a Coke now.
That's right.
Well,
I claim
Dang it.
Cokes from everybody that they say the same thing at the
She
same
is
time.
a massive Coke addict.
I am.
yeah, you did that to Jazz last week as well.
I did. I think Strafay owes me like 3. Jazz owes me like 2.
Yep.
Racking them up.
Yeah, and thank you, Negro. Well, I get it now. God damn it, I fell for it.
God damn it, I hate those.
I deserve that one for not reading it in my head.
I just glanced over it and bypassed it.
Yeah, well, I read it as Ganegro,
Mm.
and then I said it like out loud, and I was like, oh, yeah, racist fuck.
But I was gonna say,
Yeah.
TK, there's
Yeah.
usually a I would say even in like the older games, there's usually a small RP community that you can find either by forums or like just different ways. But if you get burnout in one game, try a different one.
Hmm.
It's I mean, I've even heard WoW has an RP community. I don't know if it's any good, but I know
I actually have tried out WoW's RP things.
Mhm.
It's weird.
it's weird.
It's
I like
nothing
that
like
one.
the
If you
others.
went to the Goldshire, that doesn't count. That's
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
no.
dark web
Yeah, no,
of
I-
roleplay. Yeah.
But like,
You know,
I know-
Goldshire, I just stayed way away from, far to the left of that.
Yes.
Just like nowhere near that. I've heard stories, none of them good.
No.
No.
Yeah. No. So, you got anything else, TK, before we let you go?
No, I just have to say thank you so much for having me. I've tried to get in contact for ages. It's super late now.
Yeah, where are you at, by the
Call
way?
in.
Ireland.
Ireland? I thought that might be where you
I
were.
was gonna say
Yeah.
that sounded
Yeah.
like an Irish.
He's got a way better accent than Ashen does. I'm just gonna say that.
Well,
I
yeah.
can do other accents. I
well-
can do George Takei.
Oh my gosh!
All
Oh
right.
Awesome.
See, there you go.
Woohoo.
That's the one I'm most known for.
Yeah, see, he's got that most known for. See, I used to
So
live
if you
next
ever
to.
need
So now you can tell me because you're actually Irish. Is my accent really? Is it that bad, or is it passable at least? I mean,
It's passable.
It's
There's-
possible.
there's
Yeah,
been Ireland.
I do have a wee bit of a problem sometimes switching into the Irish, which I know is totally different, but at
That's
times
a bit more Scottish, lad. You want
the
you
Irish
want
and the Scottish. Donkey!
You want to stop rolling your R's a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. You guys are a lot more. That's what I always try because I used to live next to, and I think I've told the story. His name was Mr. Kelly. He was from Ireland. Yeah, I grew up next to him as a little boy. My grandparents did. And he was always like, "Oh, look at you, Michael. You're so small. Oh, hold on, let me get the hose." And he'd tell me when he got older, he's like, "I used to spray you with the hose when you were a wee lad." Oh, you'd get so angry. You'd be like, "Grandma, Mr. Kelly's spraying me with the hose again." You know. So I grew up with Mr. Kelly next door, and he was Mr. Kelly. I don't know his first name to this day. It's Mr. Kelly.
There's a lot of Kellys in Ireland.
Right, you think so?
Ireland over here.
Yeah. I've heard there's a few of them. There may be also one or two Kennys, maybe.
Yeah,
few.
5 at least. I think.
At least. Yeah, I mean, sure, it might have more change than a Chinese phone book in the way of Kellys and Kennys, but sure.
I'm going to use that. Thank you very much.
Oldie but a goodie. Well, I appreciate you calling in, TKD, and it's been awesome. I'm really glad you were able to stay up this late this time. And for the love of God, go to bed, man. This show's just not worth it. I mean, just not worth it.
Throw this up my phone later on.
All right. Well, you have a good night, brother. Good talking to you
guys. Enjoy it. Bye.
Night.
Bye. Oh. See, I'm not that bad, but I know I do cross culture.
Roll those R's.
I roll.
We have another caller, I think.
Yeah, Rahanar wants to jump in here. I guess as our call screener, I suppose we should
Let's do this.
We should probably see what he wants. Although he actually can move himself down here anytime. But so Rahanar, what's up? He of the Gimpy Mike.
Okay, so I'm actually wanted to talk about this kind of the same thing he was asking about, and that is what do you do during burnout? And burnout, because of it really depends on the personality of the person.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I'm a very flighty person. I burn out very easily. But burnout can also, I mean, you guys were talking about burning out for a couple of months. Yunfei and I burned out for almost 10 years.
Yeah, you guys were gone for a decade.
And we just recently got the itch to come back, and it really is just when roleplay stops being fun, then you're burnt out.
Yes.
And that's when you need to stop. And really it is just go do something else.
Yeah, with her, she's got her art. She's got those dolls. I don't remember what they're called. Forgive me, Yunfei. They're kind of like
they're ball jointed dolls.
Yeah, those ones. And she paints them and she makes clothes for them, and I personally dolls scare the hell out of me. Those ones are actually kind of cool because they're not creepy.
Yeah. And, like for me, burning out, like I had a huge problem when we were burned out, and we traveled from MMO to MMO just playing whatever we could for that good 10 years, and there really wasn't any role play because that's not what we were looking for at that point.
Okay, so I gotta ask too, so what was it that burnt you guys out to the extent of a 10-year hiatus?
I think for me, it was a period of my life where roleplay wasn't what I needed anymore. Roleplay filled a niche for as long as it was, and for me, it's just not what I needed at that time. I think Yunfei's kind of the same way. Part of that, I will say, is I may have burnt her out because 10 years ago is about when we met, and then got married.
Yeah, I remember when she met. You guys met in EQ, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah. See, I remember. I think I told her to stay away from that one guy that was super creepy and always like hitting on her. That was.
Yeah. I won't lie.
Yeah. No.
I'm still super creepy. I mean, I'm playing Lahan right now, who is absolutely one of the creepiest characters I've ever made.
But no, that's that it does change because personality has something to do with it too. If you're really like, ooh, shiny, you know. Or like Yunfei actually says in the chat too, for me it was missing the creativity that comes off of bouncing ideas off of others, you know. And you guys were playing EQ2 at the time when you kind of burnt out, and that was the game was dying in a lot of ways. The community was definitely shriveling and becoming less than it used to be, and everything became insular. So it was really, really easy just to pass out from it.
It just kind of faded away, and you know, at that point it was like, well, what do you want to do? Well, we've got, you know, we could play other games, we could play other MMOs, and like I said, we bounced from MMO to MMO for a good 8 years.
Yeah,
I mean, we were there when ESO launched, and we played ESO for 6 months maybe, and then just burn out on that as well. But
can I ask a quick question? Okay, were you guys playing these games together?
Yes.
And you were just doing the questing and stuff all together?
Yeah, and that's like.
I wonder. I just wonder if maybe you guys were spending the time together. You know, since you guys were a new couple and everything. I know there's times when in me and Ashen's relationship where all I want to do is spend time with him. I don't want to play games. I don't want to do anything else. I want to just, you know, sit down and play a game with him or go do other things besides gaming, you know.
Sex.
Maybe it's because the new relationship. I mean,
that could be part of it. I will also say that it actually helps the burnout process if you are doing other things. Like if you are playing, and I'm going to use ESO because that's what we're playing right now. If you're playing ESO just to roleplay, you're not playing ESO. You're not going to enjoy yourself. You're going to burn.
Yeah, sooner rather than later too, because there's a few people in Servants that they largely just role play at the moment, and I look for some of them. I'll say Kishmas is one of them. He pretty much only RPs in ESO, and he's kind of been on a slow burn for a while now. I mean, he said as much kind of on the show and privately as well. Which is a shame why he's not here tonight, but you know, he doesn't really play the game anymore. He still really has fun with the role play, but at times he gets frustrated with it, and he has nothing to do in the game if there's nothing going on. You know.
Right, and like that was for me. That was really what burnt me out on EverQuest 2. Was there were times when I would spend 4 or 5 hours just waiting for roleplay and not having it and just sitting in a room alone by myself, and that burns you out so fast.
Yeah. That's why you really need to like the game. I know. No, that's one thing. I don't go do a lot of the questing right off the bat. I mean, in ESO, I'm so far behind everybody. I mean, but if there's no RP going on, then I can run around and do questing, and I don't make it a priority. I just kind of, it's a relaxed thing. I just don't, you know, like I know Somerset. I've not even visited Somerset yet. I've barely visited Vardenfell.
Yeah, and really what it comes down to is you're going to burn out fastest if whatever you are doing becomes a job.
Yeah.
And that's why people burn out at their jobs, because they hate their jobs. If you don't like what you're doing, if you're not enjoying yourself, you're going to burn out.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's exactly the way of it. Yeah. So yeah, well, I appreciate you jumping down here and giving us your 2 cents, Rahanar.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me again.
No problem.
Course.
Thanks for watching the phone lines and keeping all the Ganegros out.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
That was not your fault. I stupidly said it out loud like a moron. That was totally on me.
Alrighty, take care.
Have a good one, man.
Later.
Okay.
So yeah. So the causes of it, we've had quite a bit of that. So, like we said, one of them was the MMO itself. It gets boring. It has a poor update cycle, bad development choices. That one I think can really, 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 really kill your game. Like, extreme changes like what they did with Star Wars Galaxies, where they basically completely redid the engine. Took away certain classes that people were role playing at, like I did, which I was a Terrascasi master, and boop, one patch later, didn't exist anymore. Isn't an option. Sucked. Although now, thanks to Solo, Terrascasi is now movie canon. So, haha, take that. Revenge. But yeah, the bad development choices and that one for the MMO itself, that's what basically happened to EQ2. Final Fantasy 14, I've heard here, has some, it's locked into a rut in a lot of ways. It's still a great game and all that, but development wise, it's the same thing over and over and over again. So,
and it's also like in EQ2, they removed our primary primary roleplay hub.
Mm-hmm.
They physically
was a big
removed
one,
it from
yeah.
the game.
And
that really damaged the roleplay community badly. That was a big shock. And even though we all kind of retreated then into private instances, but it did something to the game when we could no longer meet publicly and had our own roleplay. That had been the center of roleplay the entire time I played the game.
Yeah, and then they revamped the city and then just took it out.
Yep.
With no,
they said that
no
they
warning,
were going to
no
take
nothing.
it out, and we got a warning because there were people in tests that started sounding the gong just before they dropped the bomb, because people went to test and couldn't find when they had the new city out. And
That's
test,
right.
Then everybody came and said the haze is gone, guys. Just gone.
For no reason, because they didn't really even replace it with anything. So, and that was, and because the community couldn't really agree. Well, one, they couldn't agree on another hub, and two, there wasn't another one that was as good. Nobody wants to settle for there wasn't even a second best. You're like fourth and fifth best, and they just skipped 2, 3, and 5. Math. But after that, I think that was the nail in the coffin of the RP community in EQ2 really starting to dwindle. Like it was doing, it was getting a little.
It was challenging at that point, but
after
it was still
that,
doable.
we
took a big hit because we lost about at least 50 role players left.
Yeah. Well,
that was a pretty big hit when we lost. It didn't take long for people to be just like, oh, screw it, I can't do this. Because so many people's roleplay centered around it.
Yeah. Well, that's where you and I. It's where you and I met.
Guild hall there. I mean.
Yeah, and you and I. That's where you and I literally met, was in in that tavern. And then there's that snowball effect too that happened after that, and happens after that. This isn't just an EQ problem. This is going to happen in every game, where enough people leave all at once due to a bad development choice, and it snowballs. It snowballs because then after that, well, my three RP partners are gone. So then you're left like Rahanar, sitting in a room for 4 hours, twiddling your thumbs, hoping somebody logs in to do something. And they never do. So then what do? You leave, and it's
hard to I mean, we had to come up with a new guild hall. We had to decorate the new guild hall, which before guild halls was a private house. We had to readjust everything because we had all these stores. Because remember, we had the jail and everything in the haze.
Right.
We had to redo everything, and it was hard, and we lost a lot of people, and it was hard to replace that role play because two of our villains left the game, and you're just scrambling trying to and it was very stressful for everybody.
Yeah. So let's see. The other one, which we touched on, bad guilds, either a do-nothing guild or a dying guild, an over-controlling guild. Jazz, looking at that one you were in. one that has no participation, one that's very cliquey, or like the people are just untrustworthy, like, you know, backstabbing, or they don't keep they say one thing and they don't keep their word, that kind of thing. And it can, I mean,
once your
you do
trust
that
is
over and over,
damaged, that it's really hard to get that back. And I think that people misinterpret that, not misinterpret, don't give it the proper weight, because trust is huge in role play. And if your trust is damaged, and, you know, we had to deal with that with me because of what happened to me personally, but also just, you know, because Sony turned on us, and we all felt like Sony had turned on us. So a lot of people just left because why would you stay in a game where Sony turned on us?
Yeah.
And then they changed everything in that god awful, I forget which one it was, X-Pac. And that was another hit. People left because of that. And yeah.
And then Daybreak Games, and that was, oof.
Ugh,
yeah.
That was just bad.
Yeah, because in with the, you know, a guild that does, you know, like, oh no, we're gonna start doing this. They make promises and things like that, like, oh, we're gonna start recruiting and this, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I'll hold on then, and then nothing happens, and you're like, you know,
or the guild leader just vanishes and stops
right.
playing.
Or, you know, they just you're just, you know, and most people are like, well, I don't want to, you know, they said they're going to do this. Well, you know, we're people in general are fairly trusting, you know, which is a good trait. It's not a bad quality to have. The bad quality comes when the person you're trusting isn't trustworthy and they are not an individual of their word, you know. Even if, say they're, you know, because they can try to do that, and if they're failing at it or it just doesn't happen, you know, at least you can usually see them visibly trying, or they'll be like, hey, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying, but I can't get, you know, any responses and things like that. That's one thing. But, you know, if they just say something and then they're gone, then you're just, you know, it kind of gets to be a bummer. It really weighs on you, and you just don't want to bother logging in after a while. You know, and in that case, you know, might be able to avoid that kind of burnout by just, like, jumping ship. Be like, look, they might be pissed at you, but that's on them, you know? Sucks. The other one is bad RP experiences. You get burned by a lunatic, Jazz. Like what you'd face said, OOC drama, which is the worst. Constant bickering and infighting. Yeah.
I just think drama, honestly, all the other stuff, the game and all that causes stress and can obviously lead to burnout.
Yeah.
But I think the largest proponent of burnout comes from drama.
Typically, at least on a role player, yeah.
Yeah, on the role players, I would say that it's largely caused by drama or RP storylines. I mean, obviously, your storyline dies. That's almost drama in and of itself. People flounce off and they leave the game and they leave your storyline. They don't tell you what happened.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out what's going on. That's hard. But when you have somebody who flips the switch on you and you've got to figure out what you do with a storyline that's years old, that can be incredibly stressful. And a lot of people would just be like, this is a game. I don't need this shit. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you don't blame them. I don't blame them at all.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're like, well, what about all the role play that you just buggered off and you just did what they just did to this person?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And there's
at
lots
least
of
if you're
ways
going to
that
leave
happens.
the game, at least give the person some closing arguments, some closing storylines so that they can say, okay, this happened.
Honestly,
Yeah,
just a simple heads up would be even be the
I'm
bare
leaving
minimum.
the game.
Oops.
You can either say he died or they just went their separate ways. They had a big fight and they broke up. I mean, you can do it this, this, this. But if you don't say anything, you're leaving these people to twist in the wind and to figure out what they're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, and, you know, for me personally, there's a certain time period where I'm like, all right, well, I just say that you disappeared and or you're dead. So the end, you know, I just write them
That's
off.
what I do, but a lot of people are not willing to do that. They hang on and they hang on and they hang on.
And it wears on you.
If you disappear on me, you have a month.
Yeah.
And if you're not back by then, I write you out. And I had actually had someone get mad at me once about that.
Yeah.
Because they came back to the game and they're like, I thought our kids were married.
You left.
You left. You didn't tell me where you were. So as far as I'm concerned, he took off. He disappeared. Well, he wouldn't do that. Well, sorry.
Yeah.
Punt. I had to.
You need to let people know if you're RPing with them that you're going to be gone.
Yeah. And the burned by bad role play too. That's what hit you at one time too, Sib, where that thing with the healing where some person, you know, they freaked out on you because you weren't doing it the way they wanted you to do it, and made it a big OOC drama thing back in Silver Circle and EQ2, and it burnt you, and it made you not. Yeah.
And I didn't know. I was so new. I didn't know how to approach it. I was like, I just don't want to mess with it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a confrontational person, so it's like.
No, if it makes you feel any better, I made up for it by doing it myself.
Yeah.
I confronted them, so I was so freaking angry.
But I just don't. I don't like. I mean, I'm more.
You don't. I know. You
now
are very,
than I was then, but I know I can handle myself better now. But it's hard whenever somebody takes your role play and sabotages it.
Sabotages or criticizes it, because while there was nothing wrong, like if I remember this, what you did was they had just said that they healed the thing without removing chainmail or something like that. So obviously you took that to mean that they stupidly had healed the chainmail in there, which, because they didn't, you know, the description of what was wrong with the wound was very detailed from the player that was injured. Mm-hmm. And then the person that healed it was just lazy and like, heals wound. You know.
Yeah, I was doing the healing, and that's what they walked in and did.
Yeah.
They just took over and said, and I was like, well, I was trying to get, you know, the wound clean, and it just ended up being a big, horrible.
Yep. And that became a sticker point later because it happened again. And the second time that it happened, they got fired. They were no longer lead healer anymore. I was like, that's it, I'm done.
You're fired.
You're fired. We're just it's not gonna work. And I told her, I love you as a person. Like, this
You're
is the second time
healer.
that you've done this. Now we've got another person who's pissed off. You're acting like it's no big deal, and that's not okay. And the lead healer has to be, as an officer, has to kind of walk people through this, because healing RP is its own animal. So I ended up having
Look for the episode coming soon.
Yeah.
Healing RP.
Yeah. Oh, we got one. So yeah, and like, you know, and that was just one experience, but she was new. So, and especially when it comes to new role players, man, they are sensitive, and rightfully so, because they're nervous. They don't want to look stupid. They don't want to make mistakes. They don't want to make mistakes. They don't know what's going on. So when a seasoned role player comes along and criticizes them for something, man, it's like getting slapped in the face. You know, you wouldn't think that, but go back to when you were, you know, we're all human. We're all just, critiques are one thing, but criticism, it can sting, especially when it's something you're unsure about to start with. You know, somebody shows their brand new art project and you're like, you know, well, hey, you know, that looks pretty good. Your eyes are set a little too far apart. Here, let me show you. If you're going to set eyes apart, the distance between one eye and the other should be the same distance of the actual eyes themselves, and this and that. You help them, as opposed to looks like a fucking stupid. Did you draw that blindfolded? Is that crayon? What did you even do? Why did you even? That's hysterical. What did your 5-year-old do this? You know, there's a difference.
Yeah.
You know,
there is a difference, and that is something in art school that we had to. And I think that it needs to happen. I think people need to be instructed that is a necessary thing. To learn the difference between telling someone they did a shitty job and telling someone, okay, this is the way that
how
you
to fix it. Yeah.
This is how we do it. Yeah.
This is how we do it.
Okay, I have to read TK's comment.
Go for it.
Okay. It said, so I guess why I burned out of WoW roleplay I was talking about was because I played a gnome and people didn't like that so much. I got called rather vicious names, OOC and IC. It was borderline bullying. Okay, wasn't it Smiling that was saying that his gnome?
There was somebody else that said something about the way gnomes are perceived in World of Warcraft. Yeah. That's why I was like, was that?
I read that and I was like, oh my god, we had somebody else talk about that.
Yep. Yeah. And I understand it with halflings. It's perfectly acceptable, but there's nothing wrong with gnomes. I mean, nobody should be playing a halfling. They should.
Sorry, I read that and I had to read it out loud because I was like, "There's somebody. There's gnomes out there."
Hey, smiley source.
Somebody else.
But yeah, so the last kind of bigger one too is a lack of time. When real life, kind of gets up on you, so you're not able to play as much as you like, Sib. You can feel left behind. You're not able to keep up with the stories and characters as they're evolving. Because you can't play or real life has gotten in the way. Time is, there's only 24 hours in a day, and unfortunately, a good chunk of that has to be done sleeping.
Which I will say, the person I RP with, relationship RP with, Travis, has been super patient with me because I told everybody this month, I'm going to be in and out. I don't know when I'll be here. I don't know when I will. If I can RP, I can. If I can't, I can't. So, but you just have to be patient with people. If they're telling you, now, if they're not, then yeah, I'll be like, Jazz,
Well,
you
yeah.
get a certain amount of time, and then it's like, hey,
You have a short amount of time if you haven't informed me. If you I had a guy that I role played with on one of my characters named Zuri. She was a healer, and she was married to this guy. We had a lot of fun role playing out their courtship and their marriage, and we played together pretty actively, even though she was an alt, for like a year and a half. Well, then his life changed, and as happens, he had to end up getting a different job that was like putting asphalt on ground in the middle of summer in California. His job sucked.
Worst jobs. It's a worst job. Trust me, having lived in California, worst job to have in Oklahoma.
Yeah, I mean, it was
putting
really
pavement
bad.
on ground in 72-degree weather as opposed to putting pavement on ground in 100-degree weather with 100% humidity. I don't say I'm not feeling sorry for the guy. I'm just saying our guys have it worse, and it's a contest, and we win.
Okay. The point being that, the point being...
His job sucked, and it took him away
His
from
job
it. He was
sucked,
probably
and-
fucking exhausted, too.
Yes. So when he came home at night, the last thing he would hang out with his kid, who was a high schooler. He would hang out with
why?
his wife, and then he would go to sleep because he was exhausted, and he would stop playing the game. And when he did play, he played on the weekends late at night because I had a job now, and I had school. So we just stopped being able to connect, and we talked about it. And he said, "What do you want to do?" And I explained that I didn't want to lose this relationship because it was pretty important to my role play, the way that I had built her, that she would be like this. And so we ended up, even though we never played together again for 6 years. As far as I know, they're still married. The last time I saw him before we left EQ 2 years ago, or a year ago, they were still married. He would log in, he would send me a mail. So what are they doing? I would say, oh, they do this. And we would touch base, but I wouldn't see him for months at a time. But I just assumed they were married. And we had a great relationship RP in that sense because my character was married. I could RP that my character was married. But it was very stressless because I knew that we were okay and that he wasn't going to be off running around with anyone else. So it really worked out, but it takes communication when that happens. Lots of communication.
Yeah.
I would say RP really takes communication.
Lots of,
Yeah.
Well, any relationship really does. And
yeah, and it's
you
not,
have to be
it
willing
might,
to-
well, it might not be a, romantic relationship. It's still a friendship, which, is a friendship, which has the same, it's got ships in it. They both have ships. Basically, it's all about boating.
It's about boating.
Motor boating.
You're a motorboat.
I like to. So, the other one too, I'm thinking, Jazz, you probably put these on here, huh? It just sounds like you. When managing a guild destroys your will to remain in the game.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
It is very, very important as a guild leader that when I talk to other guild leaders that we communicate about this particular issue, because I do think that most people are like, it's no big deal. It's just a game. Stop taking it so seriously. It's not a job.
It's just role play.
But it's not. And if you're running a guild, it is kind of a second job because you have a responsibility to other people.
It's a part-time
not just
job,
yourself.
but still a job.
It is. It's a job. It's a job you love. I love running guilds. That's why I do it.
Like watching watching how much work Sabe and her officers and servants put in every week. I mean, they put in a lot of their personal time out of character, not role-playing, keeping all the other role players happy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you have to say to yourself, well, I can't go do this in real life because I do have this responsibility. Real life obviously comes first and should, but
even
still...
there are still times where, like, you know, there's things we pass up here to every weekend to, you know, we're doing this show on Saturday, and I appreciate everyone here on the show and everyone that listens giving up their time to, you know, come here every Saturday to to do this show,
or try to stay awake,
or when I have to wake them up from their nap. Yeah, for example.
What?
That tonight, trust me, I was sleeping right next to her.
So I mean, yeah, but as a guild leader, and I've actually had little meetings with new guild leaders and stuff that I've had over the years in different games who start having a problem, and we've sat down and had conversations about what to do against burnout. They've told me I'm not going to burn out, and then like 3 weeks later, okay, I might.
What is wrong with these people? How is it this hard?
Yes, and that is what you have. You have, if you run a guild, it's important to know other guild leaders. Mm-hmm. It's important to have alts. And unfortunately in ESO, you don't have that. So you're going to have to play another game.
Yeah,
because you don't have alts in this.
Yeah, you can't have them be a secret. Yeah. Yeah,
I had an army of alts that I could play that no one knew about. So if I really needed to get away from Vodka and just relax.
You just wanted to play the game.
Yeah, I wanted to play. I wanted the level. I just wanted the RP as an average Joe that nobody knew without the baggage that Vodka brought to frickin' everything. Then I got on an alt, and that gave me that escape that I needed.
Yeah, and even with that, you still worked out.
Yeah, and I still burn out because I told too many people who I was. Mm-hmm. And
yeah, I
so
know. I would always send you tells. No,
you didn't, but other people
I usually
would.
Leave you alone. But at least with ESO too, one thing that at least helps is that you can actually set yourself to appear offline.
Yes, you can. That's true.
That's at least helpful, but it's not quite the same.
And so,
and also, if you're on Discord, by the way, people, if you're going to do that, probably turn off the Discord is showing that you're playing the game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just a funny thing I've noticed. It's like, so and so's playing ESO, but interesting. It's like
they're not anywhere to be done. Yeah.
I will say though on that, I have walked away from my computer on the login screen.
Yeah, I've noticed that too.
And it says you're playing ESO, and I've had people like send me a message on Discord. Where are you at in ESO? I'm not playing.
Sleeping.
Yeah. I'm out running errands.
Yeah,
and then you realize also that it will say that you're playing ESO even if you just have the update screen on.
Yeah, that's what she almost always does.
I do that so often. I feel bad.
Yeah. So moving on to the last thing before we get into try to avoid burnout. Other people's drama becomes your drama until you are dramaed out and don't care about drama. Drama, llama.
Yes.
Drama llama.
I had to put a sign on my computer that said, fuck all this shit. I had to have a sign that said that because I could not get it through my head that. And I also had not my circus, not my monkeys. 2 little signs that I had on my computer when I was managing the guild and when I was role-playing in EQ because that's how toxic the community got, that it would just suck you in. And I had to keep telling myself, this is not my problem. It is really hard not to get sucked into other people's drama. And it is absolutely important not to do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to. There was, it goes to that whole your inability to plan ahead is not my emergency, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Or your lack of maturity is not my problem. Or there's so many different things that go into that. But when it affects people that you care around you, and you're like, God damn it. Okay, come on. All right, let's take your hand. Let's grab your crayons. Let me explain this to you in small words.
Yep.
But it takes a while to get again, like I say, I know we talk about a lot of this stuff, and really, a lot of it is really just about just being a decent human being, which I'm not saying
boundaries,
right, and boundaries and things, and
with.
just knowing how to deal with it. There was when I was going around advertising in one of the ESO RP Discord down there, they were talking about basically just this. They were talking about like elitism and how some people, they create their own little lore and things like this in their own heads, like we were talking about in that last episode. And it was on both sides of it. People that either go along with it, even though it's technically lore breaking of the actual lore, they go along with it, and people that will just, we'll call them out on it, maybe not in the best of ways either. And they were kind of going back and forth, and there was some people on one side, and a couple people on the other side. It was interesting because they were all talking about this, but one thing they weren't taking into consideration is the human factor that, like we've said here, and it's not all of them. There's plenty enough people in roleplay communities that have, anxieties, social anxieties. They've got disorders. They've got mental disabilities. Maybe not. They're not like like John on the wall, that kind of thing. But they.
But there's a lot of autistic.
They have. What's the control problems? Like emotional control problems. Like their emotions run ragged. I have to not because of role play, but because of work. I've got to take a little pill every day to help keep me from being like super anxious and worrying about shit that doesn't exist. It keeps me calmer and keeps me mellow. Yeah, that's right. This is me calm and mellow. But it's a factor you have to take into on an individual basis that and it's really, really hard, just as people in general, to realize that the way you view things and feel about stuff is not how other people do it. Like people that are super sensitive to things, they think everybody else is like that, so they're always reading more into it. Then there's people that, like, man, they don't give a shit about anything, that they just say whatever, and regardless of how cruel it probably is actually intended to be, and it doesn't even faze them. I say all sorts of horrible stuff, and I know that, but I say one stupid word to a person at work that may have sounded like I was trying to be mean when I wasn't, and I stay up all night thinking about it like a moron, even though they're probably like, I have no idea what you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
But it's just how, and every single person out there we've all got those weird eccentricities and things like that. So,
not me.
Yeah. So a special episode after the show on everything Civ does.
Oh, I say something in game and I panic if I'm like, because I try to joke and I'm horrible at it. So if I say something, I'm like, oh God, I hope they didn't take that the wrong way.
Right.
Wrong way.
Yeah, and it happens, and that's one of the problems is, easy miscommunication's easy in an MMO because it's all text, but just people getting so dramatic about things, because some people like this, like there was, though, I was getting on that conversation in the ESORP, was they weren't looking at that. For some people, like, this is it, like the role play, man, that's more important in their life than their life, like the things that happen in real life to them. So when you challenge that or you go against it, it destroys their worldview, because you're not attacking their character, you're attacking them. And because of that, it can create ungodly amounts of drama. And it is a form of mixing as well. But and I hate to give them an out. Some people, they just can't fucking help it.
No. They have so much stress and anxiety in their life, I don't think that they're capable of separating. And while I feel bad for those people, and I know that they use this game as kind of a crutch to deal with their life, as you've said, the fact that you can't handle it is not my fault. And I shouldn't flush all my role play down the toilet because you can't separate. I have gotten to until I came back to this game, I was so careful all the time until I came back on Miri into EQ2, and I kind of was just like, fuck it. But up until that point, I was afraid to role play any conflict, anything, without like triple checking with someone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because I was so afraid of causing drama, and it was crippling. And that's when I finally stopped. But I understand that there are a lot of people like that because they're so traumatized by the drama that can come up from just role play and trying to make sure you don't hurt someone's feelings that obviously has issues with that.
Yeah, exactly. So, moving on to avoiding burnout. One of the things we said with like TK Dean, you got to mix things up. Don't play the same thing all the time, like either whether that's the game, whether that's the character. You try something new, mix it up. Try, if your character's getting stale, maybe it's time for a personality shift in them, or, have some traumatic event one way or the other for good or for bad. Try some new ideas. Any of those things can help keep that from happening.
And I know there are a lot of people who only play one character, so this is going to kind of fall on deaf ears. But I am a big proponent of, even if you just, like my husband, usually just plays one character, but even he noticed that when he branched out and had two, he had someone to go to when he started getting bored. So I've always told people who are starting to burn out, go to another character, play a different game. Mm-hmm. Relax.
That's the
just
next one,
find something else to do. Go for a walk. Trim your dog's nails. Paint a room. If you're burning out, it's because you're spending too much time doing this one thing. So find something else to do. And it will help. It really does help. And like for me, because I had back in the day, I had no choice but to play this game for the most part. Not this game, but EQ2 was the only game I played, and there wasn't really any other options at the time. And because of my handicap, I couldn't really do anything but play video games because it was the only thing that kept me awake I would have seizures that made me sleep. And so I was playing 15, 18 hours a day, and then I would go sleep. And I was desperately trying to stay conscious. And when someone was like, well, just go do something else. Well, that wasn't an option for me. Because the minute I would go outside or I would go try to clean the house, I'd fall asleep, literally lay down on the floor and pass out. So I had to just simply alt. And there are people, and people are like, no, there's not. No, there really are people that play this game to stay sane.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and they don't mix. These are people who can play perfectly healthy, but they will burn out. And when you start burning out, play a different game, play a different character, focus on something else.
Yeah, or sometimes even honestly, the first one we have here is actually play the game. I mean, you're
the game.
In a video game, play it.
Yeah, and that was probably the biggest thing my husband pointed out to me back in the day when I had to play this game, and he and Logan got me involved in leveling. I had never done that before. I was level 30 for 4 years.
Yeah.
And then they showed me, look at this neat outfit you have if you were only 10 levels higher. And I was like, I could do that. And then it was 10 more levels, and then it was 10 more levels. Insidious bastards. Yeah. And then I couldn't stop. Because then I had to level. I was like, this is fun. And I started leveling, and now I'm the leveling queen. I can max out a tune in 3 weeks. So, but leveling and playing in the game is so freaking relaxing for me, whether it's harvesting or leveling or just doing quests mindlessly for a little while or going into a dungeon, which I hate, but I do on occasion. Also breaks up you're doing something else than you normally do. It's breaking the monotony, which cancels out burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Yeah. And then the other one too is what Sib has kind of done lately too. Play other games.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
There's
Smiley Sorcerer said that, and play a different game every day on on a schedule.
Yeah, some people need to do that kind of structured
Yes,
thing.
they do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Some people do.
And
If you
I
need
just,
to play it, I play Sims and city building games. When I truly start to have problems, you'll notice on my little screen it'll say, banished, or my little city. If I'm playing city building games, it's because I'm going twitch. I gotta play something else because I'm losing my head.
yeah,
Too
and
much
I just
drama.
go off of my ADD. Just like I want to play this, which right now is mostly
But it
Zelda.
fights burnout too, just
It does.
automatically, which is
Yeah.
helpful.
And I've been a little absent from ESO, but I'll log, like, if there's an event that I really, really want to do, or I'm kind of in between, like, I've been playing for a while and I need a break from this game, I'll go play ESO and that kind of thing, and it helps. There's, because there, like, I don't know if anybody in MMOs knows this, there's more than one game out there. There's a few of them,
That's
actually.
hard for me because
There's
I
a
don't
few of
like to
them.
play. There isn't any other MMO that I like.
Right. As of right now,
At
the
all.
MMO scene is it's pretty stale.
Yeah, because
at
I
least
played,
until the future.
I played AOC. I played Guild Wars. I played Star Wars, and all of those were a secondary game for a long time, just to play to break the monotony. And there's nothing right now, so I play my single player stuff.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. There's there's plenty of really great single player game. TK Dean in the chat, Witcher 3. Like, if you've not played The Witcher 3, it's hands down one of the best video games literally ever made. I mean, I would stand by that, and so would almost everybody that's ever played it. But
My husband agrees.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, and there's so many great stories, and the same people that made that are getting ready to make Cyberpunk 2077, which is looking fucking fantastic based off the E3 trailer. There's just so many great story-driven games out there that a lot of role players, you would probably really enjoy it, and if you're not really good at those kind of video games, there's typically an easy setting.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
So and here's the thing too. What I actually like about it, things like The Witcher, like I've listed, especially The Witcher 3. There are so many really neat some of the side quests in that game specifically are better than the main quests in almost any other game. I mean, just hands down, just the way the world lives and breathes and the way you interact with it. But I've actually taken some of the side quests from Witcher 3 and converted them into stories in my RP because they were so neat. I was like, well, I can adapt this to this, and it's such a cool story that it would be fun to play through it with other people in like an event or something like that. I've actually done that. It may not be the most original thing, but people enjoyed it. And some people and I'm a fan of Easter eggs and nods and things like that. So when somebody's like, "Hey, this is just like that quest," and yes, it is. I like doing that stuff. Some people are like, "You're just being cheap and ripping things off." I like to think it's more of a tribute. It's so good. It's worth doing again.
All art. There is nothing new under the sun. All art borrows from other art. That is the first thing you learn in art school. And that is very true in books.
Yeah.
Every book that has ever been written has already been written 100 times over. All you're doing is changing and mixing it up and coming up with your own little unique spin, but it's already been done in one way or another. And that's why our writing teacher was like, so don't sweat the small stuff. If you think that it's already been done, guess what? It probably has, but it hasn't been done the way you're going to do it. So just write. And that's the same with coming up with role play. It's probably already been done, but if you think it sounds fun, do it.
Yeah. And and I will say that there are certain times, maybe kidnap role play, that you should probably avoid.
Please, God.
But
no
if you're
more
going to
kidnap
do
role play.
that, there are new and interesting ways in which you can actually do that. And I've seen some that have done that, and it's very, very interesting and very, very cool. And then others, it's just an attention grab. And the line between them can be pretty iffy.
I really like Kidnap RP where you don't need rescue. That is my thing because I don't want to be rescued. I'm not a princess. I am the
You're
dragon.
not a
I will eat you
damsel in
whole.
distress?
Right. I'm not a damsel in distress. I got this. So I like kidnap roleplay in the sense of this person has vanished and something's going on. People are like, well, tell me what's going on so I can fix it. Well, no, see, this isn't, unless it's a group RP, this is my RP. This is my story. I don't want to be rescued. It just has to work.
And if I do it, it's like, it's typically not like I've done stories with that, but it's not my character. It's somebody else that's been kidnapped. And you can do it with, you've got to figure out who did it. You basically do it like a cop show. It's, motive. Yeah. You've got opportunity. You've got, is there a ransom note? You've got to decide if you're going to just pay that off, or are you going to go attack the bad guys that took them? Whatever, And there are good ways to do that. One of them, of course, would be to kidnap Kishmas, who has just joined us.
Oh, yay!
I don't consent to this, so...
What's up?
I don't consent to this.
You don't? But I was going to kidnap you.
Yeah, but not in the good nature that I want it.
Are you sure?
Are you sure?
Oh, my.
Well, I'm sure.
He's a pretty sexy dude.
That's right. That boldness. All that boldness. Soda,
Wait a
or...
minute.
Hmm?
Who are you talking about?
Roger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Paul is not bald.
No, she is not. Just clean shaven.
And like one of the kidnapper piece that I took part in, which was really fun, is they wanted me to roll a character to be kidnapped. They did not give me any parameters, so that's their fault. They said just make a character. We'd like it to be someone young and fairly helpless. And so I did. But I ever see that movie where the kid gets kidnapped and they give it back?
Yeah, I remember that.
I love those storylines. I think they're hilarious. So I rolled this young, emo, 15-year-old noble girl.
Wow.
And it was fantastic and a lot of fun. And they gave her back at the end, and they told me they've never had so much fun. So, because she was just so damn obnoxious, and they didn't want to kill her. They just wanted to scare her father. So, yeah, it turned out really fun.
Like the bigger punishment was giving her back. Yeah.
Yeah, they decided that they were actually punishing him by giving her back. So they were okay with that.
Yeah. So, Kishma, since you're here, I know you've kind of had a little burnout thing. You want to go into that at all before we carry on without how to avoid it? Tell you how to fix it.
Well, I burned out. There's no going back. Good night, guys.
See you later, Kishmas.
No.
No, it's hard because something you used to love to do like months ago is just kind of just away, and you just kind of can't find enjoyment in it.
Yeah, but it just feels like a job.
And it's starting to become a habit for me to just put Regier in his apartment and just say in guild chat, hey, Regier's in his apartment if anyone wants to see him, and then have go semi-AFK after that, because I don't want to go out and find people just to argue with, because that's all it's ever been for the past 2 months for me. Just arguments after argument after argument.
Yeah,
and that's not fun to me. So
yeah, and it was especially with you how you kind of went into the like second to top position of authority kind of thing. So yeah, it changed the dynamic that how everyone looked at your character. Now you're not just lovable mean-spirited Roger. Now you're lovable mean-spirited Roger with authority.
I mean, Regier's always had a thing of authority over him.
Right.
Like, people would rather listen to Regier than Lilel at the time.
Yeah, and that's just because he was always so confident and steady. You're always been very steady in your role play. Like, you don't have a lot of who cares? PMS moments. Where it's just like raging hormones kind of a thing.
I mean, sometimes I feel that way.
Sorry,
recently.
ladies. It's awful. It's for us too.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes we get colds, all right?
Yeah.
Oh, I raise
like
boys.
dying.
I maintain y'all get periods. You just don't bleed.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah.
And if you had told me that before I had boys, I'd have told you were being a sexist pig and you were wrong. Now that I am the mother of boys, I will tell you that is absolutely fucking true. And I have You made a believer out of me, guys.
Yep.
There's really no difference between the genders other than the age in which it starts, and then it never fucking
and the
ends.
physical complications, yeah.
Oh, yes. I mean,
In my penis.
Right, you guys get stiffies and wet dreams, and girls bleed from their So
it's like my mom
different,
mom always makes a joke to my stepdad when he's being snotty or he's in a bad mood. She's like, "You need to go take your Midol."
Yeah. And I after having been through it now with several teenage boys, it started with when it happened with my oldest boy. My husband was like, maybe the other kids aren't going to be like this, but I swear it was like the day my child took 13, they start.
Mom.
It was just like he turned 13 and was like, "Roar!" And my husband looked at me and
then like 2 days later, he's the sweetest thing ever again.
Yeah, and we were just like,
what's wrong
and
with
he
you?
looked at me and he was like, "You're right. He got his period."
Yep.
Like, I told you.
Yeah, so this has been Period Talk here at RPMO Radio for all your period needs.
But it's like, it's still an emo thing, and I think guys go through that just as much as girls have their moments. Guys have their moments when they're just in a bad fucking mood and want to be left alone.
I wake up on the wrong side of the bed more often than not, right?
Mm-hmm.
See?
Yeah. And I just have to roll him over and say, "Go back to sleep."
In which case I say,
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes snore without my MyPillow. Sponsored by MyPillow.
Sponsored by Tampax.
That's right. Not always. It's
So,
not
I got
always
a-
sponsored by Tampax. Sometimes it just depends.
I got a question for Kishmas.
Yes.
So, have you thought about creating like another character to RP with?
Nope.
We've had this conversation, he and I. It fell on deaf ears.
La 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 la. I'm not listening. La 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 la.
Yep, basically.
He's kind of like I am. I actually have 2 alts right now, and it's a miracle that I actually play, and even one of them less than the other. But still,
It comes down to like I don't want what happened to my DC character. I just, loved how I played Regier, so I switched that character full time. That I never touched the other character again.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want that to happen.
Yeah, which is an understandable thing, because especially since you're not having so much fun with Roger right now, if you have a whole bunch of fun with the other guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, at
That's
the same time,
kind of what happened with the other guy. I was just like, oh man, DC sucks. All it is fucking vampire syndicates posing as noble houses.
Good grief,
and
have they
fucking
really even
Alec
gotten to the
Kier.
DC universe as well?
Oh yeah, they're there.
Oh my
Thank God.
Vampire
Because
people,
they're
knock it
bothering them
off.
more than- Ugh.
I
At least
love
the vampires. I'll tell you what, the vampire roleplay here is 5,000 times less dramarific than any other game I've ever been in. Thank you, ESO, for your lore.
you. And it's still awful.
I don't have as much of a problem with it here because there's specific lore. It says exactly what happens. It says exactly why and
Yes.
how. So
And
it's
there's
a
more
lot
than one
harder.
kind too.
Yes, there's more than one kind, so it gives people a little bit of an out to roleplay the way that they want to roleplay. And Jesus God, the roleplay drama is not nearly
Preach
as
it.
bad. It's just I have to
Hey
say,
man.
I have to say I'm totally sold on the roleplay ESO
Beheld.
for that. Dude, seriously?
In the name of the divine
I
vampire
can walk over
cult
there and punch him.
of 2018, feel you. So anyway, avoiding negativity.
You're such a turd. I
Avoiding
swear.
negativity.
Oh.
Well, my tip to a first rule of avoiding negativity: don't become an officer. But anyway,
Yes, that
Don't become a
really
guild
goes
leader
a
or an
long way
officer.
too. Yeah, don't do those
Um,
things if you're having a problem with that.
Yeah, so if you're trying to avoid the burnout, like avoiding negativity, sometimes it's like just being around other people that are burnt out but haven't done anything about it, and their negative views of like the game or everything going on around you, that can affect the way you start thinking about it. So if you either avoid them or you don't engage with them, you remember that they are not really happy with the game, so they hate everything, and that's not necessarily actually how it is. It's just how they're perceiving everything at the moment because they're not having fun. You know?
They're miserable, and they're trying to make everyone else miserable. And it's important to keep that in mind that they are no longer feeling challenged by the game, so they're going to bitch and moan. But you need to remember that that's exactly why they're bitching and moaning, and maybe you're still having fun.
Exactly. You know, it's like the Final Fantasy 14 podcast, Limit Break Radio. They're not really enjoying. They're still doing a podcast on it. One of them doesn't even play it. They canceled his subscription. They don't really even play it anymore. They're not having fun with it. So a lot of their show reflects that. And I'm not saying they actually don't have a valid point on a lot of it because they are actually right. It's why I don't play Final Fantasy 4. I mean, I don't play it. I don't pay for it. I wouldn't be willing to. I'll do it eventually. But
the podcast is supposed to be
right. And the reason they keep doing it is because they want to like the game. They want it to be better than it is. Unfortunately, it's not, and I don't think it'll ever be what it is that they're hoping for, and that's part of it because Square Enix is just not willing to try something new, to innovate like World of Warcraft does with damn near every expansion. They do something new. They do it differently. They add a ton of stuff to it, and it keeps things going. Same thing. ESO is kind of falling into the Final Fantasy 14 rut, I think, with the way a lot of the stuff is very similar, and it doesn't really change anything up as far as I can tell. But for now, this story-driven wise, it's always very, very good for the most part. There's a few holes here and there.
Half the reason to liking Elder Scrolls games is the storylines, the quests.
Yeah,
the interesting NPCs. That's half the experience for me, at least.
Yeah, and I've always enjoyed that. But so if you're listening to the constant negativity of somebody that's not enjoying the game or the roleplay community around you, it can get I hate using the word, but it gets toxic. In that toxicity just poisons everything around it, and it can slowly, another burnout can burn out somebody else.
Yep, it takes people with it.
Yeah, it's that snowball effect, assholes. So those are a few ways to avoid burnout. Like I said, mixing things up, play the game instead of just trying to just log into role play, playing other games and avoiding negativity. The last and sometimes least taken step, it might just be time to give up, to step away completely, like we said with...
Yeah, that was the hardest thing I ever did in EQ, was just walking away.
Yeah, and it's like what we said with TK Dean when he called in. You may not burn out in the entire time you're playing the game, but it will happen at least once to everybody, because you can't play forever. And nothing lasts forever, not even in MMOs, as they're always being updated. Things run their course. Perhaps you've outgrown the game or the community.
I last forever.
That's right, you do.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
I knew he was gonna say that. I knew.
Ba-bam!
Should I have went? I last forever.
Oh my goodness.
Is that much better?
Yes.
I'll be in my bunk. So don't hold. If people change. We all grow up. We all mature. Okay, most of us mature. Kishmas, I'm looking at you. Most of us mature eventually. So
I'm more mature than 75% of the RPer community.
I would say more like 90. I'm actually going to up that to 90. About 90. Yeah. Especially for your age, youngin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But, as you grow up, maybe you're just not enjoying the story, seeing the same storylines pop up from the same people over and over, or the community just gets stale. Also, don't hold on to the idea of what was, what came before, because you're never going to get back to the way things used to be. You can move on and try to create something new and different, But what has happened in the past has happened. You're never going to relive the golden era.
Yeah, we're never going to get back what we had in EQ.
No,
not like that.
Not
That's
in the
never coming back.
Not in the 2005 to 2008 or 9 era. Those 3 or 4 years. That's it. That was that.
It's sad, but it's true. And RP has changed. The people have changed. They're younger. The culture has changed. Everything's changed. And so you're never going to get back to that.
You know.
Yeah, you're never going to get back to that. So it's better to just try to make a new experience that's good and fun, and learn from the old.
Yeah, because especially if that was your first MMO to roleplay in, seriously roleplay in. I had roleplayed in Star Wars Galaxies and Matrix Online before I got to EQ2, but EQ2 was that's the rose-colored glasses for me. That's something I'll never be able to get back. Like the first 2 were a lot of fun, and I vaguely remember them, but nothing compared to EQ2, and that I'll never be able to relive that. And just like EverQuest 1 was my first MMO, I can't even play that damn game today, but I played hours and hours of it every day back when I first tried it. And there's always something about that first MMO that makes it magical and makes it super awesome, especially when you really get into it, and you only get that once. After that, you might, it's like people that talk about, in high school, I was the quarter, the Al Bundys of the world, and all they peaked in high school in the football team,
Right. And they can't let it go.
Yeah, you've got to move on. You got to try something new. You got to keep moving. You can't just dwell on that. It's not healthy, for one, and it just aggravates the shit out of everyone. Nobody gives a shit what you did 20 years ago with the winning touchdown pass, by the way, Jim.
What I did 20 years ago? Shit my diaper.
That's pretty much what I was going to say. Smear feces on the wall, probably.
I wasn't that high class.
He was laying in his crib, and his dad was looking over him going, "Is that all he's going to do?"
Pretty much.
Is this damn thing ever going to get a job?
Yeah.
The only reason I knew that is because personal experience. Is that all they're going to do? Just lay there? Yeah, pretty much. A baby.
So they actually said that, huh? Because this wasn't me, by the way. I've never had kids that were babies. I married into a 4 and a, how old was she? 7 or 8 year old.
She was 9.
9.
He was 4.
Oh yeah, they're 4 years apart. Yeah, so a 4 and an 8 year old. So it wasn't me that said, "So what baby's ever gonna do?"
Well, Jason was enthralled with Xander when he was born. But even he was just like, he'd lay there and he'd watch him and he'd watch him and he'd go gurgle, gurgle. And he goes, "Did you see that?" And I'm like, "Yes, baby." Babies do that a lot.
He's dying. Quick, take him to the hospital.
Because I've watched kids. I had a daycare. I've taken care of other people's children. I was a nanny. I've been a governess. So I've had a lot of experience with
I've
kids.
been a governess. Oh, look at me. Fancy titles, jewelry, movie stars.
Political affairs.
Ooh.
Oh
I don't.
my God.
What's a governess?
That's a teacher. So basically, you're not only their babysitter, but you run them around, you take them to school, you tutor them, you take them to their lessons, you make sure they practice.
You're a nanny.
Well, yeah, but it's
So
a nanny that's
basically-
in charge of education, essentially.
I thought it was some sort of, femdom thing.
No.
Like a mistress, but for domination.
No. Oh my God.
Because I was like, where can I get one of those?
I need me a governess. Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
Oh my God. No.
No? Huh.
No. It's
terrifying.
simply you're a child's caretaker and teacher, basically.
Well, Kishmas, we both learned something new today. And it's very disappointing. It is not what I had hoped.
A new word.
Anyway, the point being, I had lots of experience with kids, and Jason hated children when he was growing up, and he didn't want any. When we met, he didn't want any. And he was very happy that I had one child. He was adopted. He was handicapped. He was already basically
man. What a monster! He was glad he was was handicapped. What a horrible person!
No,
wow.
He knew he was going to be the age. He was going to be the age he was going to be for the rest of his life.
Right.
So there wasn't a lot of.
You just said that horribly. He was so glad that he was disabled and adopted.
Right.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't say that right, but you understand what I mean. Anyway,
for the sake of the show, no, I didn't.
Dude, are you trying to make me look bad? Yeah, sorry.
He's gonna listen to this. Sorry, Jay. It's all her words, not mine.
And then he knocked me up. Surprise! And we just kind of
also her words.
Yep. And I didn't think I could ever have any kids. Apparently, I just needed to get a divorce. And we ended up together and we raised our kids, and he's a great daddy. But when we first started this little journey, he had no experience whatsoever. So when he was first involved with Xander, I had to show him how to hold him, and
yeah. So role play.
Sorry. Tangent.
Little bit. So let's end the show. Because, God, if she just keeps talking, I don't know about the rest of you. I'm ready to wrap this mic cord right around my neck and just pull until the vision goes away.
You're such an ass.
Hole.
Rohanar said, where did this show go? Not only been gone off of, they've been smashed, set on fire, thrown into an active volcano, and then nuked from orbit.
So clearly we just nuked Hawaii because, boy, do they have a lot of volcanoes. So let's talk about volcanoes now.
No.
That's not.
Anybody see that? No, I'm kidding. But no, it's the stepping away from it it's often the hardest step, and sometimes, maybe you do it like Jazz did for a couple months and then you're able to come back. Maybe that's it. You're done. And it sucks. I get that. Like we were saying earlier, especially right now with the MMO landscape being pretty stale for newcomers, and those that do come out, like Bless Online, it was just a clusterfuck from start to finish. To the point like Steam was giving refunds on it, from what I heard, or if it wasn't Steam, it was the Bless itself. And that's not good. That's you've really screwed up. That does not happen very often, that they're just like, oh yeah, this game was so horrible trash that we're just gonna let everybody have their money back. So I wish more people at times would actually step away instead of being the negative Nellies and just constantly bashing on something, because it also creates a form of drama at times as well, just because, people are still enjoying the game, and then there's just one negative asshole that's always just bashing on everything you love. And I get it, they can have their opinion, but again, like we've said, opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one. Some of them stink more than others. So when you're constantly hearing that, it starts to wear on you, and it gets frustrating for people that are still enjoying the game. So it'd be better if they just walked away for a little while. I don't know.
Yep, take a break. Walk away.
People can't do that. And I get it. There's legitimate complaints, like Star Wars Galaxies when they changed the engines. People were all pretty much pissed about that. Everybody was being negative. That was a big ass deal. But, it's like, oh, they're not doing it the way I would do it. Yeah, well, it's not yours. Go make your own MMO. Get that $100 million and 250 people to make it. No, you, Kishmis. If that even is your real name.
I mean, part of it.
Yeah, that's true. Half of it. So, all right. Well, with that, I think we'll close out the show. I don't think there's really much more we can say on being burnt out. I mean, I'm tired of talking about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of burnt out on it.
Yeah. What did you guys say? You're burnt out on it?
I'm mostly just listening to you. Really, I mean, good.
I can fix that.
Oh, please do. Please do.
Here, let me shove this cotton in your ears.
Wait, what?
What?
Cotton? Man. Jeez. Did you hear that?
I'm too cheap for earplugs.
All right, so I want to thank everybody for tuning in here at RPM Radio, our 47th episode, Burnout. I, of course,
Thanks,
am
everybody.
your host, Ashen
Yep.
Phoenix, Jazz, Kishma Sib, and, of course, our call screener, Rahanar, who did, in fact, block a call tonight because somebody apparently doesn't know how buttons work. It's okay. So appreciate him holding the line, regardless of the fact that I don't, from now on, I need to say in my mind before I say something out loud when I read people's names. Lesson learned. So, with that, thanks for listening. Join us at our Discord, rpmmradio.com/Discord. Talk to you, I guess, if you're worth it and you got something worth saying. Twitter at RPMO Radio. Facebook, same deal. Pretty much wherever you can get that crap. So go ahead and tune in next time for Halflings when we force feed them as much of that Hyper Volt Super Jolt Extreme and actually see if it will make their heart explode. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Good night, everybody. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPM Radio and her crew are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by HuskyBy the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great original rock covers of video game music and his original music, and I fucked it all up, but you get what I'm saying. Good night.